What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here for another deck introduction, and this month we're going to be doing a deck introduction for Flundereeze, or I believe it's called Floowandereeze, or something like that, now, or Flundereeze, I think is how you properly need to pronounce it. In the TCG now, we've just gotten the final translation. I don't have it here now. We got the final translation for M-Pen, of course. We haven't gotten the rest of them yet. But, yeah, so this is probably the deck, despite the fact that it's not as good as Sword Soul. This is the deck that I'm most looking forward to out of Burst of Chaos. Not Burst of Chaos. The next set. Burst of Destiny. That's it. Chaos is the set after. So it is the deck I'm most looking forward to. I don't mind the playstyle, although I'm not like a true Draco player at heart, I guess is the way to put it. I do like the concept of just doing multiple normal summons and then forcing your opponent to normal summon on their turn, and then kind of from there snowballing advantage and just interacting with your opponent weirdly by doing all of your normal summons on your opponent's turn. I quite like the idea of it, and the fact that it is competitive slash like fringe competitive is a good reason to pick the deck up, in my opinion. It will probably be expensive. We'll probably see something like M-Pen, Rabina, apologies for that, and Eagle. They'll probably each be secret rares. I wouldn't be surprised with that. At the very least, M-Pen and Rabina will be. The rest might just be ultras. Personally, I'd like this archetype to be like just blinged out to the absolute, because all the pitches are pretty busy. For this one though, we will go through each of the cards one by one, what they'll do, and of course we'll have 3 deck profiles to show off as well. One that I've prepared, one from the OCG, and we'll also be featuring Pack's list that is available on Pack's channel. We'll also have that one here for you though. Yeah, before we get started though, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people on the channel. And let's get on into this deck introduction. So starting us off, we do have my Flundereeze list. Given that we do have Crossout Designator coming to the TCG prior to the release of Flundereeze, it will fix the main issue that I have with the deck, and that it is that it loses pretty hard to an Impermanence and a Veiler. You can now counter that. Droll and Lockbird is also something you need to keep in mind, that it is going to probably ruin your day. You can also kind of tech out between Prosperity and Extrav. Honestly, you can play all 9 if you want to and just make it as consistent a going first deck as possible. However, you do need to play kind of like variants and stuff like that in order to be properly competitive. So you'll see in my deck list we have the Crossout Designator. It is at 3. We do have the 3 primary targets in Veiler, Droll, and Imperm. And then really Shifter's not something you're going to be Crossout Designating, I guess. It is something you're going to be primarily using yourself. Something else to keep in mind is with the fact that Dogmatica didn't take a hit on the most recent ban list, Punishment could actually come up as a cross-out target if you are going to be going that route. Of course, we do play the Punishment because it does toolbox out your extra deck through with the ability to use the Shurag to search. You can also use the Entis. That's the reason why we're playing the Entis, is because if we don't have the ability to search with the Shurag, you can send the Entis for disruption. You can also send other targets. It's really up to you, but those are the ones that will get you the most resources. But now we will go through the Flundereeze cards. So first off, we have Flundereeze M-Pen. So this is, when this card is tribute summoned, you can add 1 Flundereeze spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 monster. So that is effectively how the archetype functions, is each card you normal summon will have an effect, for each of the Flundereeze of course. And then you will be able to normal summon after. So you can go one into another, into another, into another. You can ultimately normal summon 5 times on your turn just from resolving a Rabina, which is pretty absurd in my opinion. Then from there, you can of course use the field spell. We'll get to that later, but that does allow for a double summon. Then you have some disruptions in your summons and things like that. Then M-Pen has its second effect. So while you control this tribute summon card, your opponent can't activate the effects of special summon monsters in attack position they control. It's not just a negation, it prevents activation. So your opponent can't, like, they will have continuous effects, they'll be fine. They just can't, like, activate specific effects. This does shut down pretty much all of Link summoning. So if we're in a Link-heavy format, it will basically shut down everything. They can't activate any of their effects. And then it does have this third effect, so it's once per battle. If this card battles an opponent's monster, during damage calculation, quick effect, you can banish 1 card from your hand. That opponent's monsters, a current attack and defense become half until the end of the turn. Just a way you can kind of protect your M-Pen from getting banished. Unfortunately, wait, does this target? It does not target, so it's whatever it's battling. Quick Dragoon out, I guess. Good way to beat over that. Didn't even consider that really, given that the OCG doesn't have Dragoon in their meta at the moment. I didn't really consider the fact that M-Pen could Dragoon in that fashion. Quite interesting indeed. Then we get into the rest of the archetypes. So now we've got Eagle. So Eagle is, so all of the small ones also have the condition that they are effectively under a macro. So if they leave the field, they are banished. So if it gets bounced, it gets banished. Do keep that in mind. It gets Kaiju'd, banished. M-Pen doesn't. M-Pen will go to graveyard, but all the little ones do. Because it is going to come up further on in the way their effects work. You can really snowball a lot of resources in this deck. So for M-Pen, it's, so effectively you can't special summon the turn you activate their effects. We'll just read the card for verbatim. So if this face-up card leaves the field, banish it. You can only use each of the following effects of Flundereeze Eagle once per turn. You cannot special summon the turn you activate these effects, so do keep that in mind. We do play a Zeus package, but you can only really Zeus the turn after your cards have been summoned. So when you start your turn, you can go into Nightingale, take a swing, go down it, Zeus, and then clear a board if that's what you need to do. So then the rest of Eagle's effect is, if this card is normal summoned, you can add a level 7 or higher winged beast monster from your deck to your hand, then immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon. If a winged beast monster is normal summoned to your field while this card is banished, add it to your hand. So that is how you're going to basically be recurring everything. When you tribute over, say, Eagle and Rabina to summon M-Pen, they will banish and then immediately trigger because M-Pen has then been summoned, and then they can add themselves back to your hand. It really lets your hand get quite big, and I quite enjoy it. Then, of course, we'll get to it later, but you can, like, mulligan them back with the continuous. Then, for the next off, I play 1 Stritch in my list. I do like the idea of playing 2 Stritch, just with the Dimension Shifter in the main deck. I don't have the space necessarily for it, unless I was to cut something like a Duster. I have been keeping that in mind, given that we'll go through an interaction that the continuous spell has soon, but it is just something I've been considering, because Stritch is effectively a DD Crow. So, it's the same condition, if this card leaves the field, banish it, then you can only you can't special summon the rest of the turn. So if Stritch is normal summoned, target 1 card in either graveyard and banish it. Then immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a winged beast monster. So it is effectively a DD Crow. It's not a quick effect, however you can still use it on the opponent's turn with the other cards that we have in the archetype, which is quite neat. You can just DD Crow your opponent and then just keep normal summoning, and then you can get more disruption, and you can ultimately summon a Riser on your opponent's turn and just nuke their board, basically. Then after that we go into Rabina, so same conditions to start again, except when this one is normal summoned, you can add 1 level 4 or lower winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon. So this is why I believe Rabina will be a secret rare, is the fact that it effectively searches your entire archetype. So Rabina searches Eagle, Eagle searches M-Pen, it can also search Riser or Mistbally Apex Avian, and then that's that. We do have down here the fact that I'm considering playing the Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. That's another thing I could consider putting into the deck. It can just search Stormwinds and then use normal summon Stormwinds and your opponent's locked, which is pretty cute. So then after that we have 2 copies of Toucan. The reason why I'm playing 2 copies of Toucan is there is a way to access multiple of your spells and trap cards in a turn. So that's how effectively we're going to be using Toucan. You can either banish them out with Stritch, or I believe Flundereeze Wandering Map can banish them from deck. Yes, you just banish 1 Flundereeze card when you resolve your double summon, so Toucan can then add those cards back. Something good to keep in mind. So then, after that, we go into our spell cards. So that's it for the monster lineup. Toucan and Stritch by themselves aren't full combo, which is why we're not playing them at 3. Does make the deck slightly inconsistent, but you do have effectively 9 normal summons that get you there, as well as like the field spell. So that's something to keep in mind, that it's not as inconsistent as you'd think, especially with the dualities and the prosps, but it isn't that consistent of a deck considering how simple it is to do your combos. Now as we get into the spell cards, so first off we have Flundereeze and the Unknown Wind. Definitely not a 3 of that you'd play, it's definitely just a 1 of. And then we'll go through as to why I believe this card is good in comparison to being able to cut your Harpy's Feather Duster, because this can effectively act as your spell or trap removal. So if you conduct a tribute summon that normally requires 2 tributes, you can conduct a tribute summon that requires 2 tributes by sending 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls to the graveyard. Keep in mind there, the wording is 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls. So you can effectively tribute summon, say, Riser the Mega Monarch, using a wind monster you control and a spell or trap card your opponent controls, and then put 3 back. It's pretty absurd, the fact that you can do that. Honestly, I didn't realize it for the longest time, but if you're on the Mystic Mine, just tribute summon using your opponent's Mystic Mine. Then you just keep playing. Card is just a simple out to everything, because you're just getting rid of them when you conduct your normal summon, so it can't really be responded to. They have to remove this card first. Then it does have a second effect, so during your main phase, You can reveal up to two winged beast monsters in your hand, place them on the bottom of the deck, then draw the same number of cards. That comes up a lot in this deck. By turn 3, it's very realistic that you could have a 10 card hand. So do keep that in mind, that you will want to be putting those cards at the bottom of the deck. You will have, say, 3 Eagle in hand. Put 2 Eagle to the bottom of your deck. Hopefully you can draw something like a punishment set up with that. Then next off we have the field spell. So the field spell is effectively your double summon. So during your main phase, you can reveal one Flundereeze monster in your hand. And if you do, banish one Flundereeze card from your deck with a different name, keeping in mind that we do have the toucan play to add the spell or trap cards. Then immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon the revealed monster. So that's effectively how you're going to be getting 2 normal summons in the deck to play through disruptions like Ash Blossom, Impermanence, Veiler. Then if your opponent normal summons a monster, this is a quite cute effect. On your opponent's turn, if they normal summon, you normal summon. So they normal summon their monster, you go full combo. It's quite absurd, and then, yeah, you just disrupt your opponent. You can summon Apex on their turn, you can summon the Stormwind on their turn, and you can summon Rise of the Mega Monarch on their turn. You can even summon an M-Pen and search. If they, like, negate your M-Pen, then normal summon. You're just like, okay, cool, here's another M-Pen. Can you get over this one? And then, yeah, good times for you. Then next off we get into our traps. So we do have the first one. This originally in the OCG was the least popular of the 2 traps, but it has since become the most popular. Given that, we're going to say what the effect is. So, during the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one level 4 or lower wing beast monster. Plain and simple. You don't have to rely on your opponent normal summoning a monster. You can just force your own normal summon. Given the fact that, we'll get to the counter trap next, if your opponent sets a card, that doesn't necessarily trigger your ability to normal summon using the field spell, which can ruin your day. If they go set one, spam the board. That doesn't really allow you to then normal summon because they have conducted a set instead. And that'll be a catch with the counter trap. So then after that, this does have a second effect. If you tribute summon a level 7 or higher monster while this card is in your graveyard, banish this card, chains all monsters your opponent controls to face down for defense position. This is effectively designed to set up the one that we don't play. I believe that one does piercing damage. It's not super necessary. It's not going to be like fully disrupting your opponent's board. It's just a cute way to push game for damage for game. And then last off, we have Flundereeze and the Scary Sea. So when your opponent would special summon a monster while you control a tribute summon monster and no face-up special summon monsters, your opponent cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. I believe it negates the summon. Yeah, it's worded after this. Sorry, I got a bit lost there. I was like, this negates the summon. I don't know why it's saying this. But then, so for the rest of the turn, they can conduct 3 normal summons, not just 1, then you negate the summon. This is normal summons and sets, so like I mentioned earlier, your opponent can just set 3 cards if they're trying to avoid triggering your field spell. That kind of sucks for you. Then you do return that special summon to the hand, of course. You can only activate 1 per turn. This has fallen out of favor in the OCG. I still like it as a one-off. Both traps I consider to be like solid one-offs, given especially that Flundereeze and the City of Dreams can be banished, and then you can add it back. Of course, Stritch can always banish your own things, so you can banish these, then summon Took. Took can add them back, and that's how you kind of get general recursion going in your kind of deck. But this is my list. We will not. It's been on screen long enough. You've seen everything that's in it. We will get through to the next list. Okay, so next off we have the most recent topping deck from the OCG. We'll just we won't go through all of the cards one by one. We will talk a little bit about the small world interaction, but we'll effectively just skim through the deck. So we've got 2 copies of M-Pen, 1 Riser, 1 Mist Valley Apex Avian with the 1 Barrier Statue, making sure they have max interaction on the opponent's turn. This deck does play 1 Cataroost to then get through to a Zeus. They don't have Barrage. I actually think they have Barrage. I don't know why he's not playing it, but hey. They can just normal summon the Cataroost, go through their line, get a Zeus, re-establish game state. This is effectively what they're going to be doing going second. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure why Cataroost. I couldn't quite figure it out. It's not searchable with Small World, unless they have like Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. That's realistically the only way they're searching it, unless they go... Okay, no, they can search it off Rabina and Eagle, by the looks of it. Okay, so they can Small World. We'll go through Small World in a second, but they can Small World using Rabina and Eagle to go into the Cataroost. That's kind of cute. That's a weird little tech. Then after that, we've got the 2 copies of Ash Blossom and 2 Maxi, just your generic hand traps, just at 2, because I'm assuming they're trying to fit as much space as possible for stuff like Small World. 3 Eagle, 2 Stritch, 3 Rabina, 1 Took. Then, of course, your cross-out targets in the Effect Veiler and the Droll and Lockbird. Then for the spells, we've got 1 Terraforming, 3 Prosp, 3 Small World. So Small World is a cute card and it can search some obscure things in your deck. So reveal 1 monster in your hand and show 1 monster in your deck that is the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense. Exactly one of these. And if you do, banish the revealed monster, then add 1 monster from your deck to your hand with the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense as exactly one of those monsters shown. So you're effectively going to reveal the Rabina, banish, I believe, Droll and Lockbird or Veiler, and then you search Cataroost. I believe that's the thing they're going for here, with then the ability to go into the Borbo and then Zeus and, of course, fun times. Then we have just 2 copies, of Pot of Duality, followed up with 3 Book of Moon. This has been super popular. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, why? There's better disruptions you can play. Then 2 Crossout Designator, and 3 copies of the Field Spell, of course with the 1 Terraforming backing that up. Then 1 Impermanence, and 1 Flundereeze City of Dreams, so no counter trap at all. Then for the extra deck, they are playing that extra big Zeus line, so 2 Zeus, 2 Downed, then the 3 Zodiac cards, 2 Assembled Nightingale, 1 Boral Sword, 1 Access, 1 Samorg, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Phoenix, and then the 1 Frigite. Okay, lastly we have Pack's list. I'm not 100% sure as to whether or not Pack knew at the time, as when he was building the deck, that we did have access to Crossout Designator. This video did only go up like 2 days ago, and I know we've only known about Crossout for about a week or so, so we may have just pre-recorded the content. But we'll break down the deck one by one. So of course we've got 2 copies of M-Pen, 1 Riser, 1 Avian. We do have the Stormwinds coming later on. 3 Shifter in this one. Shifter is just a really powerful hand trap. Literally, this doesn't conflict with your deck at all, because all this stuff just recurs back when it's banished, and of course Took can add the stuff back anyway for any of your important stuff that gets banished. Then we've got, of course, 3 Eagle, 2 Stritch, 3 Rubina, and 1 Took. Then we've got 1 Terraforming for the Field Spell, 1 Gold Sark. So the reason why you play Gold Sark in this deck is because they trigger to add back to the hand. They chain block when you normal summon one, which is cute. And then, of course, it gives you just a free toolbox of any resource. So you can go like Rubina, banish Eagle. So activate, banish Eagle, normal summon Rubina, add 2 Stritch. Eagle comes back to your hand as well, and you can just combo off from there. Then we have the 3 Prosp, 3 Duality. This kind of is a little bit better than playing the Extrav. I considered for a while playing 3 Duality, 3 Prosp, and 1 Extrav, but it just kind of got a bit too hard for space. Then the 3 Book of Moon after that with the 1 Called by the Grave. Then we've got 1 Flundereeze in the Unknown Wind, followed up with 3 Flundereeze in the Mysterious Map, 3 Impermanence, 1 of the normal summon on the opponent's turn in City of Dreams, and then 3 Dogmatic of Punishment to take out this extra deck. For the extra deck, though, we do have 3 copies of Entis and the 1 Wing Pegasus to make sure we get the most out of our punishments. Then 2 AA Zeus, 2 Downed, 2 of the new 1 in Prom Trish for Lyrilusk, as well as the 2 Assembled Nightingale. And then we have 2 Shurag, of course, for the ability to search the entire archetype of punishment, and the 1 Frigite for the ability to add the cards back, or the ability to mulligan your deck. That will wrap us up here, though, for this deck intro, or introduction to. It was for Flundereeze, or Flundereeze, I believe is the weird way to say it now. I still did not figure that out as the video went on. As always, though, if you did like the content, please remember to subscribe, hit the like button. I don't normally say that, but I do quite like doing these deck intros. The next one will be for Zhang Jing, so Sword Soul, effectively. Then we'll look at, after that, Brave, and maybe if we have time in December, and the deck hasn't released yet, although I think it will at that point, I'll look at that Xyz archetype. I find it quite interesting, but it really, at the moment, hasn't had much production over in the OCG to kind of go off. But, as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.